Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic slash non-classic. This is episode 519 and episode number 427. Second time I do this because I got interrupted about 2 minutes in by a phone call. Not by being called for dinner, by a phone call from my job coach. Okay, we have two trades. We have the Complete Clone Saga Epic Book 3 and 4. And I know I'm saying this again, but I have to because I got interrupted 2 minutes in. Okay, now we have in this one, in book 3, we have Spider-Man the Clone Journal, Spectacular Spider-Man 222, 224, and it's super special. We have a Spider-Man 123, 124, and it's super special. Amazing Spider-Man 400 and 401 is super special. Spider-Man Unlimited number 9. Material from Amazing Spider-Man 400. Spider-Man 57, of course, material from that, and Spider-Man 58. Venom Super Special, and yeah, bunch of specials. It's just the first half of those. Second half is collected next book. With the writing here done by Tom McFalco, Jan DeMatteis, Terry Kavanaugh, Stan Lee, Tom Lyle, Howard Mackey, and the awesome David Michelini. Artwork by Mark Bagley, Robert Brown, Sal Buscema, Steve Butler, Ron Gurney, Tom Gurmett, Dave Hover, Kyle Holtz, Steve Leidy, Rob Lem, Tom Lyle, Derek Robertson, Johnny Jr., Bill Sienkiewicz, Todd Smith, and Joe St. Perry. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, first off in this book, you have two standalone books versus the Spider-Man the Clone Journal, which is the recap from the beginning of the Clone Saga up until like the most recent thing. Yeah, it just covers like it's just a recap. That's basically what this Clone Saga is. 222, just a standalone issue of stuff advancing forward. Yeah, that's all. It's just a standalone issue, and this is where I got interrupted at. Next up is the five-parter Planet of the Spiders, which covers the super specials for Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, of course, is a Venom super special, and the Spider-Man super special. Yeah, it covers like it's a five-part thing. Though what happens in here does contradict what happens in the main thing, but anime story. But the only reason why I think they clue this in here because it came out during the Clone Saga. It's an odd storyline for what it is. It features like Venom and like Spider-Man been around team with Venom to take on like an invasion of the symbiotes. And yeah, it's an interesting story. Bit of artwork here and there, especially for Venom. Alright, then after Planet of the Spiders is with. Next up is, if I can get to it. Up. Almost there. I think I have it. Oh yeah, next up is Amazing Spider-Man 400, which I think is just the opening story for this one. But this is just another standalone issue. Yeah, this leads into stuff dealing with of course, it also has the backup story done by Stan the Man Lee himself, which kind of takes place right afterwards. Then you have the storyline. I think. Let's see here. It's just dealing with the next thing right afterwards. With by Howard Mackey and Spider-Man 57 with artwork by John Meehan Jr. But this particular thing is set up for the trial of Peter Parker, which I think is in this trade. Let me find it here. Excuse me. Yeah, Aftershocks. It's let's see, I think it's like a 3-part storyline. And that's 2-parter. Then we have the Mark of Cain, which basically is a 4-parter, which starts from Web of Spider-Man 124. Amazing Spider-Man number 401. That's part 2. 3 is Spider-Man 58. Excuse me. Part 4 is Spectacular Spider-Man number 224. And then right after that is Uh, oh yeah, Part 5 is Spider-Man Limited number 9, which features a new incarnation of the Sinister Six, aka the Sinister Seven, comprised of Hobgoblin, the Beetle, Electro, Mysterio, Shocker, Scorpina, and the Vulture, though it's the first one we call himself Scorpina. And of course, like I said in the last video, the Hobgoblin at this point is Jason McIndale, not not it's not Roger Kingsley. He doesn't come back until after the storyline is over. The whole purpose of him forming the Sinister Seven is just to kill Kane. That's really the whole point of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then there's a standalone story for the morning after, which is kind of like right after uh, Amazing Fantasy 15, though that's kind of been filled by a couple different things. One is learning the crawl, the other is, of course, Amazing Fantasy 16 and 17. Yeah. But the most part with this one, most of the Clone Saga is starting to wrap up at this point, though it's starting to it's already going downhill at this point. So this, because some of the stuff in here is actually pretty decent for what it is, I'm gonna give a lot of the stories in here, pretty much all the stories in here, pretty much a 8.5 out of 10. Next up is Book 4, which contains Amazing Spider-Man 402 to 404, New Warriors number 61, Spectacular Spider-Man 225 to 27, excuse me, Spider-Man 59 to 61, Spider-Man The Jackal Files, it's a one-shot, Spider-Man Action Clone Alpha and Omega, and Web of Spider-Man 127, written by Tom DeFalco, Jane Amadeus, Todd DeXato, Tyree Kavanaugh, Mike Lackey, Tom Lyle, who also does the artwork in here, one of the issues, Howard Mankey, and Evan Sullick. Evan Sullick does New Warriors issues. That appears in this one and the next few books. Artwork by Mark Bagley, Robert Brown, Roy Burden, Sal Bushma, Stephen Butler, Rod Lim, Roger Robertson, Todd Smith, and Patrick Zurcher, who was one of the recent artists of Action Comics. Sorry about that. Let's see if I missed anything here. Liam Sharp, yeah, and Joe St. Perry. Just a second here. I got a text message. I'm wondering who it's from. Oh, it's just something else. All right. Now this book is pretty much started the end of the Clone. Well, what they were going to end the Clone Saga with. Well, the first thing starts off with is a standalone issue featuring the possible return of Gwen Stacy, but it's still late. It stuff has setting some stuff. It's simply put what the Clone Gwen Stacy was up to. Plus, we have a debut of the Phil Green Goblin, the fourth Green Goblin, and the other one who's a hero. Yeah, this is simply put what the original Gwen Stacy clone was up to over the years. That's simply put what this issue is. And then comes the two-parter Crossfire, which starts from Amazing Spider-Man 402, written by Jane Amadeus, and it concludes in, and the second part is Spider-Man 59. Now, in this two-parter, Spider-Man, had to switch places with Ben Reilly so he could be his pregnant wife. So Ben is posing as him, and Peter is wearing the Scarlet Spider costume. My apologies for that. Yeah, he just wears it. He only wears this particular costume for a very brief period of time, and then he goes back to wearing his classic red and blue. And then we have, kind of, let's say, well, the rest of 225 when Fear Yurick it just becomes the Green Goblin. It's his first heroic effort. That's simply put what 225 is. hmm And then we have, well, kind of, let's say, a recap in the same issue 225 of pretty much Amazing Fantasy 15. And then start with 226 for the next 4 issues. It's the Trial of Peter Parker. Starting from Amazing Web of Spider-Man 226. Part 2 is in Amazing Spider-Man number 403. Part 4 is Spider-Man number 60. And Part 4 is Spectacular Spider-Man number 226. Yeah, and this particular 4-parter leads toward the original ending of the Clone Saga, but it's kind of weird and kind of bizarre to say the least. Yeah, and the ending of this one, yeah, this kind of leads into pretty much the most controversial thing about this storyline. Yeah. Peter being mad that apparently looks like that Ben Reilly is the original and Peter is a clone. Of course, he goes frickin' nuts. I have heard that the creators actually regretted doing this. Of course, this is later fixed at the end of the storyline. Of course, one of the most controversial things about this scene is Peter hitting Mary Jane while she's pregnant. Yeah, this is the most controversial thing about this storyline. Though people don't bring this up, oh no. People talk about all the other crap that goes on here, and yet Linkar brought this up. Though he did survive it. Though the ending of this thing does lead into maximum clonage. Though next thing is the Jackal Files, which kind of fills in the gap between the Trial of Peter Parker and maximum clonage. It's simply put just, well, Spider's side, and of course going through various different files, various different characters who popped up in Spider-Man throughout the saga, or at least the last 20, 30 years. But the end of it basically being Spider's side getting put on his costume. And then we have New Warriors number 61, which is basically a prelude to maximum clonage. Thank you. Which, simply put, this issue was just set up. Something was set up in the actual storyline. Also, I gotta point this out though. There's a character named Speedball, and that's this guy here in the on this page. You'll be surprised who created this character. This is a character created by Spider-Man co-creator Steve Ditko. Yep. Not a very known character. When people think of his creations for Marvel, the first people think of is Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, plus the villains they have. But people don't think of Speedball. He is the second to last major character that he did create for Marvel. The other, of course, last one was Squirrel Girl. Yep. So Maximum Clone starts off with Spider-Man, Maximum Clone number Alpha. That's where it starts. That's kind of like the prelude for. That's like part 1 of this. Let's see if I can find it here. It's a long one shot. I saw on the cover price for this thing. Originally, when this comic came out, apparently this was $4.99. Part 2 is Web of Spider-Man 127, featuring guest star appearance by the ever-awesome Punisher. Yep. Yeah, the Punisher appears in the storyline for about the first half of this thing. That's part 2. Part 3 is Amazing Spider-Man number 404, which, by the way, the cover for this one is also the cover for the trade. Yep. This particular cover is the same one as this one. Yep. Yep. Let's see here. Part 4 is Spider-Man number 61, which features Spider-Man, Ben Reilly, and Kane taking a bunch of Spider-Man clones, which apparently they were hatched before they were laid up before they were fully baked. Spectacular Spider-Man 227 is And this is what happens in storylines. A bunch of really crappy artwork by Steve Buscema. And the finale for this storyline is, well, a bit odd. Let's see if I can find it here. Let's see. Yeah, during in the Pendulum story issue, the storyline, Spider's side, this guy kills Kane by impaling him with a pipe. Yep. I'll talk about this in a minute. And then it concludes in SpiderMan Maximum Clonage Omega. Yep. Yeah, which at the end of the storyline, I think that's when Jackal finally dies. Yeah. Of course, you have Gwen Stacy, the clone Gwen Stacy show up. But yeah, at the end of the storyline, Jackal's dead, and he remains dead for a good 14 years. Of course, this pretty much is kind of what was supposed to be the original end of the saga. Now, I gotta point this out, though. Despite the fact that the Jackal did apparently die, it was later retconned that this was a clone. Yep, it was a clone. They retconned this actually about 15 years later, during the events of Spider Island. Well, prior to Spider Island, somehow you'd really be alive and well. Of course, it was later retconned after this one, what happened after the storyline was over. Kane, of course, remained dead for 13 years. Yeah. Was it 13 years? Yeah, 13 years this guy was dead. Until he was cloned again and brought back in 2009, right after Amazing Spider-Man hit number 600. And he later became sort of a supporting player in the Gauntlet and Grim Hunt storyline. Then afterwards, he took part in Spider Island, which he killed the Spider Queen. And then later on, after that storyline wrapped up, he got a short-lived ongoing series, which was awesome, by the way. It lasted 25 issues. And got canceled because some editor was jealous of the fact this book was outselling Superior Spider-Man. After that book ended, Kane later popped up in New Warriors, appeared in all 12 issues of that 5th volume, and then he appeared in Spider-Verse, where at the end of it he apparently died, came back a year later, Clone Conspiracy, which brought back Ben Reilly, by the way. He was part of that for about half the storyline, and now he's a supporting character in the Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider series. And he's pretty much like every single issue of the whole series. But yeah, I'm glad they brought Kane back because, well, Chris Yost did a great job with them, and I don't think it was Slott. Slott did a little bit with him, but mostly, if you want to thank people for developing him as a great character, aside from Slott, Chris Yost, Craig Kyle, and whoever wrote the Raptor storyline, yeah, these guys brought the character back and developed him so well over the course of the past 9 years. Yep, for the past, oh yeah, and Peter David, gotta thank him as well for continuing to develop Kane to be a great character. But aside from the last two storylines being here, the first couple parts in here are pretty good. Though Trial of Peter Parker is kind of bad. I mean, it's good for the most part, though it does kind of rip off an awesome episode from Batman the Animated Series. One where Batman's chained up and he's put on trial by his own villains. Yep. Though this storyline came out like a year after the episode came out. Maximum Clonage, despite the fact originally planned at the end of the Clone Saga, later extended it for another couple years. Actually extended for another year. But that storyline is that's just really bad. Yeah, it's the worst story. Trial of Peter Parker is pretty decent for what it is. But I do agree with the criticism of Maximum Clonage. It is terrible. And despite that, it is necessary to read the entire Clone Saga. You can't skip over that one. So, with the very bad story to end this off with, I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. It's getting lower and lower. Though it does get better after this. Alright, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the very next episode, episode 520, which I need to put this one up, and of course, I'll put it up on YouTube channel right after this. So I'll do the next episode, which will be episode 520 and episode number 428. Okay? But until we see you in the next episode, bye.